morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE. We're back from Roundtable, guys. Woo! Oh, it's been too long. How many months has it been since I've done one? Darren, when was the last time I did a proper Roundtable discussion? It's been ages, isn't it?
Oh, it does seem quite a long time ago.
It's been a long time.
Can you hear me?
It's been cursed.
Can you hear me loud and clear?
In a galaxy far, far away, probably, is what it normally is there. So good to see so many people in the chat. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'll just say hello to you all, to you guys in just a moment. But just want to say, first of all, to all three of our wonderful guests here. First and foremost, we have Random Scottish History, also known as Jenny, who does absolutely amazing stuff on the history of Scotland. Guys, please do check out her YouTube channel if you haven't already. She really does some wonderful work. I can't recommend that enough. Jenny, first of all, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate you being on here today as well.
Continuously inviting me until it happened.
This is the fourth time. I would like to point out to everybody here that this is the fourth time I have tried to get Jenny on, and every time there's always been a blockage. There's been something in the way, like my cat passed in the way, I had lost my voice, or Jenny had Jenny, or you had somewhere you need to be.
Anniversary.
And there was like like I was too sick. Like I've had so many barriers, but finally, fifth time, we finally got this to happen.
From a hotel in the far north of Scotland.
And I just want to give a shout out to the to our friends of the Bing podcast who have just raided the chat here. Good to see you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Great to see you all. Hope you guys are all doing well. Guys, do check out. If someone could put a link to their YouTube channel, please do, guys. Do check out the wonderful content that you guys do. And hopefully you guys will have me on one day. We should definitely talk about that. And of course, we've got two other guests I haven't even said hello to. Some of you guys have seen him on quite a few times already. It's the SMP trolley coin collector, Mr. Daily Blasé. Darren, how are you? I hope you are doing well.
I am absolutely fantastic. I had a fantastic time in Scotland last week where I met the lovely Jenny and the SMP coin thrower, Aki's Mad, and also I was tracked down in Edinburgh by Indie Truck Davey, the fantastic Dave McGuinness.
Oh, he tracked you down, yeah?
Inimitable, he really did.
Yeah, well, what it was, we had a day trip in Edinburgh, me and my wife, and Aki's was talking to me on WhatsApp, and he's there saying, he basically says, let me know when you get there. Let me know exactly where you are. So I could point you in directions of some great little sites to see, and this and that and the other. So I went what they call it, the National Gallery, and this and that, and I'm on this street, so he's there saying, hang on a minute, I need to go to the toilet or something, while I was there on Google trying to find somewhere. Unbeknown to me, he's there in contact with Dave McGuinness to let him know where I was. So
did he set a GPS tracker on you, and then he sent that link to Dave McGuinness? This is where he is. Find him, track him down.
Yeah. So
I'm just imagining Davey on his truck driving across the country, just trying to track you down.
His lovely wife came to meet us, and they wouldn't allow us to pay for a beer whatsoever. No, he wouldn't have a bat of it. Trying to get my
hospitality there.
Yeah. And then the lovely Jenny and Aki's took us out for a lovely trip out to I forgot the name of the place again.
Late night trip. It was out to Shacklorough Country Park out Hamilton Way.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And we got there just about sunset.
Beautiful.
Oh, good timing. Oh, lovely.
Midges were out in force.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to be coming up to. I will be coming up to the believe it or not, I will be coming up to Glasgow next month, but only very briefly. Only very briefly. I'll let you guys know a bit later about that. But before we go, we've got another guest we haven't said hello to as well, Mr. Power to the People, Graeme Pryce. Graeme, how are you doing? It's good to see you here. Oh, guys, and by the way, guys, if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, please do. He's got one of the greatest series called 5 Reasons Why This Person is a Twat, or This Person is a Twat, or Tommy Robinson is a Twat, or Richard Tice is a Twat. I mean, it's very generous of him to only give 5 reasons, but obviously he does more than just that. But obviously, he's very generous with just giving 5 reasons.
Never struggle to find them.
No, never struggle to find them. And for those who don't know, can you introduce us to your lovely dog behind you as well, Graeme? Clearly he's got a skill.
Annie the Jack Russell, she's 14 and she's blind, she's ancient. But she just lingers on. She's been aren't you, mate? Yeah, so she looks a bit confused sometimes, that's fine. But I think she can see a little bit, and I think she sees the light come on over there, and I think she knows what's going on, because she always seems to quite want to come over and get on whenever they put the camera on.
Yeah, it's always the case whenever you do videos. It's always near you. So it's almost like because you said because she's blind. It's almost like there's a sense of feeling where you are. So there's always that. That's a really powerful bond. I love that.
It's very far away, really.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Obviously, there's so many people in the chat. I just want to say quickly, thank you so much. Tin Bolan for the £2 super chat, 1 of 5. Thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate it. Sorry if I don't say hello to everyone, but because there's so many there. Akisman is in the chat, so is in the chat. Trips, Jow, Scott Hayes, Suzanne. Make sure. Person impersonator, Mikey. Good to see you there, Mikey. Hope you're doing well. Vic Striker, Counter Key, Russell Cannon, One Angry Pagan, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Kev, Sarah Davis, good to see you there as well. Richard Grumpy Git, Genie Bottle, Sass. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone. Trips. I think I've called everyone. I hope I haven't missed anybody there. But if I haven't, hello, and hello. Right, guys, let's get started. We've got a couple of topics we want to talk about. First one, I think, is the biggest of it. One of the biggest stories, obviously, is obviously the United Kingdom is going to formally recognise the state of Palestine. This obviously follows on from France, who are formally going to recognise the state of Palestine in September. Canada announced this, I think it was this morning, when I was doing the morning live stream, that they're going to recognise the state of Palestine as well. I've just also read a report today as well that Portugal will begin consultations on the question of recognising the state of Palestine as well. So we can, so since France has started it, we're starting to see a real trend of a lot of nations moving towards recognising the state of Palestine. Currently, more than 140 countries recognise the state of Palestine. Now, of course, this all falls off the back of, obviously, I don't know how many of you guys have gone out of your way to see the images, and I don't blame you guys for not seeing the images of what's been happening inside Gaza. And it has been absolutely deplorable. As of right now, the situation has not changed. While there's been airdrops been going in, it's not really enough aid whatsoever. There have been an increase of truck aids that have been going in, but again, it's nowhere near enough. I think they need about 400 to 500 aid trucks need to go in a day to Gaza to help stop the starvation, which is what's happening. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has basically claimed that anyone who basically recognises the state of Palestine is supporting Hamas and basically calling us terrorists and whatnot. Jenny, I want to start with you. What significance, if any, does the UK have on recognising the state of Palestine, given our connection to Israel and given the fact that we are still supporting Israel in some way, shape, or forms, because we know there are Israeli lobbies inside the Labour government. Does based off basically the announcement, does this really change anything from the UK's perspective, from your point of view? What do you make of it all?
I mean, just the fact that when Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party, he was literally ousted on the basis that he was pro-Palestine. He was ousted, and they said that being pro-Palestinian was anti-Semitic, and that's what got rid of him as the Labour leader, seemingly. I like that he's decided that he's going to go a different path these days. So it seems like it's quite a big step, considering, again, like you say, how in the pocket Labour Party are, and really just the British establishment are with Israel. It seems to that announcement seemed to come after John Swinney was coming out and saying that the UK Parliament had to recognise the Palestinian state. And they have done that, but they've insisted on conditions. So he's come out again saying you need to accept Palestine as its own entity without these conditions. Like there's no need for that. Just do what everyone is wanting you to do right now, because the majority are on side with the oppressed. Because I don't know who can look at the situation and be fully on side with Israel and their doings against the Palestinian people. So it's in Labour's interest, it's in whoever's in the hot seat at Westminster's interest to be doing everything they can to end the genocide, to be on side with getting a ceasefire dealt with, and to be on side with recognising Palestine as its own entity. But I'm not entirely sure. I was saying to Aki's Mad, like the other day when we were listening to it on the radio, I don't understand at what point we stopped recognising Palestine as a country, because I can tell you from all the history books that I'm reading, it's not Israel that's mentioned, it's Palestine, and it's the people of Palestine and the Palestinians that are talked about. And then Israel becomes a thing and suddenly Palestine doesn't exist anymore. At what point did that happen? At what point was there an act put forward to say, oh, this place, it doesn't exist anymore? It's not valid to recognise? Because that confuses me a wee bit, to be honest.
Thank you, Tim, for that £5 super chat. Lawyers for Israel needs to be a prescribed organisation. Yes, they do. Thank you for that super chat. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, back in 2000, I was protesting. I was doing dying protest actions with Fazlin Peace Camp, calling for sanctions against Israel for their doings, and that was 25 years ago. And here we are, and things are just getting worse. Nothing has changed. Nothing has got better. It's only got so much worse, like over the past, even just past decade. Like, it's been terrible. Like the increase of aggression from Israel. So, and they're literally using any excuse they can to do what they want with the place. And then they've got Trump. They literally have the backing of America and the American president to say, oh, by the way, you can have the Israeli capital is Jerusalem. Yeah, sure, you have that. Like, screw the Palestinian people. Also, we're completely on side with you just bulldozing Palestine, bulldozing Gaza. Let's make some Trump hotels there. Let's blow it up and turn everything into Israel, you know? Like, so the fact that they're sanctioned literally by the American world power gave them complete free rein to do exactly what they wanted with very little pushback. It's been really disheartening to watch.
Just as well, some additional context, obviously, for those who weren't aware as well, Donald Trump was in Scotland earlier. Was it this week, wasn't it? This week or over the weekend?
Oh, yeah,
sorry,
we were
Jenny.
very welcoming. Very welcoming of Trump.
Oh, no, I love the sign. I love some of the signs you guys had for him. I absolutely love that. But it was, obviously, I'm glad John Sweeney got to have an audience with him. And obviously, Keir Starmer obviously had discussions with him as well. And I wonder if, obviously, Trump, his response to the Keir Starmer announcing obviously there are conditions still whether or not the UK will recognise the state of Palestine. but his reaction to the UK was very, very different to Canada this morning, recognizing the state of it. Basically, Trump was threatening to cancel whatever trade deal that they were looking to organize with it over the recognition of the state. Yet he's not said anything at the time when Keir Starmer talked about recognizing the state of Palestine under certain conditions. Obviously, we do have to stress, obviously, that the UK, unlike France and Canada, who are both going to formally recognize the state of Palestine, the UK government are actually doing it under certain conditions, which is very bizarre conditions. I think it's quite fair to say there. Graeme, what do you make of the situation on this? Like, what is this actually going to? Do you feel that it's going to make it? The countries now coming out recognizing the state of Palestine. Do you feel this is going to make a difference?
I don't know if it'll make a difference, but I don't like the idea of there being conditions on it, and I think it should have been done a long time ago, really, anyway. It's like, I totally agree with you. As with regard to what you said about some of the pictures and things, I did look a few days ago and I saw a few that were awful. And then I've had a little catch up this afternoon on some of what's been going on, and it's just barbaric how anybody could support that now. It's gone way beyond what anybody could call self-defense. You know, there's people starving to death in like what's supposed to be a first world country. So, and whether it'll make much of a difference, I don't know. But anything's got to help, hasn't it? I wish we'd been one of the first rather than one of the followers, though. You know, like you said, France and Canada. I wish we were one of the leaders rather than a follower in this. But at least we're following, seemingly. But no, I don't think there should be conditions on it. I think they should say that they're doing it now as a result of it being clear that Israel has gone too far and is committing a genocide. So they should say that because that's happened now, that they're prepared to stand with Palestinian people and accept it as state. And we're always supposed to be a country that stands with, you know, people who are downtrodden and, you know, discriminated against, aren't we? So
yeah, I think one of the things that really, I've said this before on previous live streams, but one of the things that really does infuriate me the most was it's only coming to this point now that we are seeing the images that we are seeing, the videos that we are seeing of the children that world leaders are actually reacting. And I feel like the only reason they are reacting is not because they care about Palestine, not because they care about the people and the suffering, but because of simply because of political reasons, because it might make me look bad in the ratings in the polls if I don't do something.
Of it, isn't it?
Yeah. There's election coming round or something. I better act like I care. And that's the like, for me, it's just like it's for me. And I'm sure for those of the regulars of the channel will know I've screamed and shouted about this. I think a few days ago on a live stream. Like they I'm basically saying they don't fucking care. Like they just don't fucking care about these people whatsoever, even though that they're human beings, just like us here, just like everyone in the chat there. On this, Darren, how do you feel America's response has been to this, and is because quite a few European countries are now taking this position? Where do you see the situation going? Do you think that aid is finally going to start coming in soon? Obviously, it's nowhere near the levels it needs to be, but what's your thoughts on all of this? And I just want to say thank you, Alistair Keir, for the £5 super chat there. He says let me just bring it up. He just says the late Jane Goody was smiling down on Scotland, seeing the banners for Trump visiting here. Rip Janie. Yes, rip. Rest in peace, Jane.
There's a few people holding. There's a few people holding signs similar to the one that she was pictured doing a few years back. I was made up with that.
Yeah.
Bless her.
Yeah, it was like, as I say, when I was in Edinburgh, me and Dave, we were in I forgot the name of the pub. He introduced me to a McEwen's beer, absolutely delicious, and I saw a couple of young lasses with their banner saying Jane Godley was right.
Yeah,
but
100%.
yes, but funny, but when I saw the the headline and I read it. I thought that is interesting, and that when he basically said that if nothing changes in September, they will recognise Palestine.
I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, why wait till September? And then the more I thought about it, because that's what France wants to do, and I don't think I get the feeling he doesn't want to step on France's toes, Emmanuel Macron's toes. That's the feeling I get. He's thinking,
Possibly.
Rightly or wrongly, I don't know. But then I thought to myself, I bet it's more to do with the fact that he wants to control the narrative, because is it about 270 backbench MPs and few MPs are sort of like writing a letter putting pressure on him to recognise Palestine as a state? And my first thought, well, yeah, I think that's more to do with it than I think he wants to control the narrative. He doesn't want to step on Emmanuel Macron's toes for whatever reason. For me personally, just have done with it, because I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu's going to think, oh shit, kissed, I've lost armour, right, that's it, I'm going to end the war now, I'm going to let the aid in. He's not going to make an iota of difference, because he's just a mad mouth frothing right winger, isn't he? And I just think it's a little bit of a case of a bit of political diplomacy, as well as I think is just politics as well. I think it's a case if he doesn't want to step on Macron's toes, and secondly, I think he wants to control the narrative with his backbenchers, because he's getting it in the neck. Let's be honest, when they've been hoping for how long that this thing would just quieten down and go away. How many times did you hear Israel have the right to defend themselves? As you've seen people being slaughtered, and you're thinking, really, Key, are you going with that? And you're going to keep going with that?
And you say that about
always played it though. They've always played the victim whenever they're targeted or whenever someone comes out against what they're doing. They have 100% always played the victim. That's why they'll always use the anti-Semitic card, no matter what the argument is.
Yes, exactly. Because remember Rishi Sunak's final question as Prime Minister? Do you know who it was? Zara Sultana. And yes, it was his final question, and she basically got on about the sanctioning with Israel and this and that, and what's happening with Palestine. And all he basically said, he jumped up and he basically said, the leader of the opposition said he was leading a party of change. Well, all I see is the same old Labour, ripe with anti-Semitism. And he just sat back down. So I don't like it, but to a certain degree, politically, I can see why he does it, because he knows full well, if I were a Tory, I'd use it to the hilt, politically. Yeah. So,
I obviously wasn't surprised at the time, because it hasn't stuck in my mind.
Yeah. So that's, and for me, I just think he needs to be a bit more braver than that. And so what? Because they're going to attack him for whatever reason anyway. People just be more principled about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the one I'm not sure in Mark Carnier. I don't know if someone in the chat has listened in full to Mark Carnier's statement on it, but I don't know if he criticised Israel and Netanyahu at all in his statement in recognising the state of Palestine, because that's one thing Keir Starmer definitely is very spineless in doing, is calling out actually Israel, calling out Netanyahu, calling out the actual government. I know also in Israel that there have been protests in Tel Aviv. There are lots of, although there's the mixed polling, there is still mixed polling, because there are still, I know it's crazy, but there are obviously people who are still backing everything that the IDF are doing. While there, at the same time, there are protests, there are people who want this war to end, who want the ceasefire to come in and for the hostages to be released, of course. Because one thing we all agree on is that we want the hostages to be released, and we would like to see Hamas get disbanded if possible. And of course, everyone, we all, what happened on October 7th was absolutely horrific. But I think it's fair to say that what's happened since then does not justify in any way, shape, or form what they've done since then. And they still continue to hide behind the USA. And I think even with the amount, like I just, even with the problem is that America is just so well controlled by Israel. I'm not sure how what if anything they're going to do, because the only person who can really tilt anything is Donald Trump. And my position was always the case of if there's one way you could try and turn Donald Trump a little bit into allowing aid and whatnot into Gaza and getting a ceasefire, is you can coax him into having him take the credit, having him take the rep. Because one thing Donald Trump loves is PR. He loves good publicity. Yeah, he always likes being the center and the face of attention. That's one thing or not.
Yeah, if you do, you get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, this is exactly.
He also loves having new land to build hotels on, though. So
yeah. But my thought process was, why didn't, like, I don't know why European leaders and other leaders in Arab nations and whatnot use this to try and persuade Trump to say, if you actually convince Netanyahu for a ceasefire, if you stop him having a ceasefire and allow aid in, you could be seen as a hero or something. Like, just try and paint that picture to him, because he would buy into it, despite the fact that yes, he's a bit gone in the head. I think that's definitely the case. But I think that because he's obsessed with publicity, he's obsessed with good publicity. And I generally think that would have been something I would have expected leaders to try and push him towards, even though America's so supportive of Israel. I wonder if, because there has been times throughout Trump's presidency where things have been shaky between him and Netanyahu. It's not been rosy. When he did the state visit, when he did the visit to the Middle East, he completely boycotted Israel. He never went there. He went to Saudi Arabia. He went to UAE, I believe. He never went to Israel at all. In fact, I don't even think he didn't go to Syria. They tried to persuade him to go to Syria as well, but Syria went out to him and made some very sweet concessions to him as well.
He was getting a very nice new plane from the UAE. So.
Oh yes, a new plane that would cost $1 billion US tax dollars. It's going to cost them $1 billion.
It will belong to him after his residency.
Yeah, completely out of taxpayer money as well. That is, I learned yesterday as well, which is insane.
Tried to get one out of South Africa as well, didn't I?
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it's a never-ending cycle what's happening in the Middle East, because and also what's also making things worse is because of America's position and what Israel have done. It's completely and totally undermined the international organization, international rule of law, completely, because they've become.
But also, you're talking about going in circles, and you're talking about like trying to, end Hamas and their influence. They're part of the freaking circle. Like, they only exist because of the atrocities the Israelis were already committing on the Palestinian people. They wouldn't exist were it not for Israel's actions on their people. I mean,
it's a lose-lose situation. Whatever we think of, however we think of dealing with this, I just don't know what to do, because it just feels like the international order is just completely weak in this situation, and all we can do is just write to our MPs, protest, and it does feel very hopeless. It does feel very hopeless. I just don't know what the solution is. I don't know if any of you guys in the chat have a clear solution, it's a really heartbreaking one, guys. I don't know what more to really add on to that, I suppose. To see if anyone would go on, Darren, if you want to add a little bit more.
I'll just say it's something I don't always talk about, because simple reason, I don't really know enough about it to really have a strong opinion about it. Because if I did anything on my channel, it'd just die a slow death. Nobody'd watch it. But the one thing from an outsider looking in, I've always said that the Israeli government have done far more damage to the Jewish community than Hamas could have ever done to the Jewish community.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%.
Yeah, it's.
I think they're saying that they've got to stop Hamas, but look at the state of what they've done. They've waged war for that long and killed that many people and razed that much of the country now. That surely there can't be that many of them left.
And all they're doing is creating more adherents to an extremist faction prepared to do whatever they can to get revenge for their family and friends and neighbours. Exactly.
Just giving people more.
That's all they're doing is creating more antagonism within the opposing faction. That's all they're doing.
I think so.
Well, it's also as you pointed out, Darren. Obviously, we're seeing, anti-Semitism towards Jews and Israelis across the world, because even though some of them may have no association with whatsoever with the country Israel or what's happening with the government, they're being targeted, or I've seen clips online. I don't know how many guys have seen clips here and there online of people being turned away from restaurants, for example, or people being yelled at or abused and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, we're still having that from other Muslims and other communities, because we know there's a lot of hate is on the rise. We do know that, but specifically we're talking about Jews and Israelis in particular. They're being targeted more and more because there is an obligation for them to do something about what is happening, because clearly the government is not doing anything about it, even though some of these people may just be living in the country, maybe living in the UK or America or somewhere else, for example, and they're just getting hurls of abuse and whatnot, all because they're Jewish, or because their nationality is Israel and whatnot. And it's frustrating, I think it's fair to say. I think we'll move on from that, guys. One other thing that's there's been a lot of topic of discussion has been the Online Safety Act that has come into force here in the UK. There's been quite a lot about this. I think the thing that people have been talking about is obviously the age restriction that has been they've been trying to use, but it's not worked out quite as the government had planned. Now, originally, the Online Safety Act actually was first introduced by the Conservatives, of all people, believe it or not. And you would have thought, on hand on heart, the intention is good, considering that social media has more of a grip on the next generation of our children more than ever before, and we have to do everything we can to protect our children. But I've seen, ever since the Online Safety Act has come into law, I've seen more and more. The argument I've seen is that people are. It's more down to, rather than the government, it's more down to parents raising their children. And I do think it's a combination. I do think the government still has a responsibility to do what it can to protect children from harmful content online. But I generally think it's not just the government. I generally think it's a combination of parents, of schools, and of the government, and of social media companies being held to account when it comes to the distribution of content that they share online, whether it's for adults or for children. We know that social media has been doing I think it's fair to say, a fucking terrible job when it comes to with the content. Darren, I'll start with you. What do you honestly think of the Online Safety Act, and how what's your view on it all so far? I would say, what do you make of it, to the best of your knowledge?
Well, it popped out as I was heading up to Scotland, so I was listening to one or two conversations, and I suppose in a little bit of a way, it's a case of maybe you shouldn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, in a way. I suppose it's a good, and I also get the feeling if it's not quite working, I'm sure they'll be able to add additional legislation to it to make it better, won't they? To make it, because at the end of the day, we all want to protect children from what's happening, don't we? At the best we can.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I did find it funny when Peter Kyle tore into Nigel Farage. That was interesting, especially when Nigel Farage bit, didn't he? Boy, didn't he bite! But yeah,
For those who don't know the reference, let me just, for those who don't know the reference, basically, Peter Carl, the technology secretary, said on Sky News was basically saying that he supports, basically he's a supporter, he would be the supporter of Jimmy Savile and all those extreme paedophiles out there because they are against the Online Safety Act. Is essentially what Peter Carl was accusing Nigel Farage and the UK of doing, just for reference.
Well, it's not as if there's any photographic evidence to back that up, really. You know, there's no photographs of him near Miss Andrew Tate or Donald Trump, is there? So, but yeah, I was just like you hearing a lot of people, because I think I was listening to James O'Brien shows that were going up, and I've got talking about. I thought, oh, this will be interesting. And there were one or two people who were, who were in the tech say it's a good idea, but this needs to really work for this and that. And as far as I know, when it comes to the VPN, that now I've not got one. I'm not on any VPN. I don't think I really need to be on one, if I'm honest. But yeah, it didn't surprise me when there was a massive overload of probably mouth-frothing right-winger perverts who wanted to get their free VPN.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, it increased by like 140% or something. One VPN website, had said that it increased on the day of the law. And I think it was quite embarrassing. There was a clip from Peter Carl on Good Morning with ITV basically saying to people, please don't use VPN. I'd really appreciate if you guys don't use. He was basically pleading with the public to not use VPNs, discourage people from using VPNs. I was just like, the way it comes across was so puppy-eyed. It's just like fuck off! You're not going to stop people doing this, going round. I just wish I could play the clip. It's just so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Graham, what do you make of the Online Safety Act?
It seems a little bit farcical, but I agree that they have to do something. And taking what the Tories had already started and tweaking that might be the best way to do it. But it does seem a little bit silly. The age verification thing seems to be a little bit over the top, and it's really easy to get around age verification on the internet anyway. There's not a real person checking it, is it? But I noticed that they've said they want to prevent harmful content, and I thought that's a bit of an ambiguous term, isn't it? And I don't necessarily think that really young kids are the people who are suffering that much from things like social media. I think that's more the older generation, to be honest.
Yeah.
So how much of a difference it'll make, I don't know. But I approve of them doing something and like that, and so if they can tweak it as they go along in future. Labour do seem to be a little bit more prepared to change things as they go along than the Tories were, don't they? Hopefully it'll make a difference to some people, but I'm not massively impressed.
Are you sure about that, Mad Monk? All right, I'll believe you. Well, yeah. Some people use VPNs for other means as well, not just for pornography.
Yeah.
That's
just me making silly throwaway comments.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny to see on Twitter so many people tweeting out, "Oh, look, Pornhub have got age verification now." People were saying, and it's just like, yeah, that's all well and good. It's just like, yeah, there's a million other porn websites. Like, it's not like every single one of them are going to follow it, and it's not like the government are going to check every single one of them either. And it's just like you've got to have literally an online police force checking all of these to make sure they're all compliant. I mean, is there a body out there that's actually checking every single adult website out there to make sure that they're all complying? Because I'm pretty sure they're not all complying. So
I wouldn't imagine so.
No.
Not
Jenny,
even social media is really checking. The only evidence that I've come across of it was on Blue Sky, where it was like, because of laws on your country, you need to age verify yourself. And I'm like, right, okay. And then it's like, you can enter your credit card details. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Or you can do a thing where it'll look at your face and decide, are you an adult? And it came back going, yes, we feel like you're an adult. I'm like, of course I'm an adult. I'm like, just what are you talking about? But that was the only evidence I've seen. I've not seen the same on Facebook. Spoutable, Mastodon,
nothing on Reddit,
Discord,
or Instagram,
like,
I'm aware. No, nothing on Discord. No,
nothing.
Yeah,
I'm not on any other age verified sites. So like,
I'll tell you what was annoying for Blue.
Other than Whiskey.
Yeah, I'll tell you what was annoying for Blue Sky though, because I have like 3 different accounts. So when I switched accounts, they all said you need to verify yourself. You need to verify yourself. You need to verify yourself. So I was like, I've got to do it 3 fucking times. Are you joking?
Yeah. I have to read your face. Like,
I have to say, I did it the other day, and I was rather hoping it would say, no, you're not old enough to use this app.
You're hoping that it's like, oh, it's indeterminate, actually. Yes. Can we take it from a different angle? It's like, oh, I still look like a youth. Yeah. So it was almost disheartening to just be immediately told, no, you're an adult, that's fine.
Yeah, you're all right. You can use this app all the time.
All right.
I haven't come across. I haven't personally come across. Some people have said this. I haven't come across. Apart from Blue Sky, I haven't come across on any of my other social medias that I've had to use it or anything whatsoever. But some people have said that on the same social medias that I've been using that they've had to. So I'm not sure if it might have something to do with, I don't know, maybe in different parts of the UK it may be flagged on something like that. I'm a bit very confused there, because some people highlighted an image, like, for example, someone had this screenshot of Discord saying that they couldn't access their Discord. And I don't know how true that was. I don't know if that was just probably scaremongering more than anything, because we know that Reform UK and Nigel Farage have jumped on this bandwagon of basically, it's against free speech, sort of thing, coming across it. I mean,
it does suck for Wikipedia's angle, like, because their main grievance is the fact that the contributors to the site now have to shrug off their anonymity in order to be fair. And there are certain pages on Wikipedia where the people that are editing it and updating those pages could come under fire, and could end up like getting doxxed just because people are like, oh, I can find out who you are now, you know. So I understand like Wikipedia's kind of angle that they're coming from, because I can't imagine that there are very many 12-year-olds out there updating people's like pages on Wikipedia to make sure the facts are correct, you know. If they are good on them, you know.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused as to why I'm a bit confused as to how this affects. Like, I haven't read the case itself, so I'm not sure why this is affecting Wikipedia directly, even though it's like people are like. It's about struggling with the anonymity of their contributors, and they've got like hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of contributors worldwide. So basically, the Online Safety Act is saying that we need to know exactly who all these people are, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if it only applies to those that are editors within the UK. I would assume so, since it's a UK law. I can't see how that would apply to anybody else in the world that has a hand in kind of updating Wikipedia pages. But it seems like they're contributors and the people that literally volunteer their time to make sure that information is as updated as possible no longer have the cover of anonymity, which was always a staple with Wikipedia. Again, because there are certain Wikipedia pages, because they cover literally anything. And there are a lot of contentious issues where if you're updating that with the facts, a lot of people aren't really on board with fact giving these days, you know. They really want the alternative facts to be the rhetoric and the information that's going out. So those people that are coming up against mainly the right-wing folk that are like, no, our perspective is correct. Like, no, ignore that information. It's not right. And I think those people are going to come under fire. Plus, the right wing are pretty hardcore when they come out against a person. Like, they will do their best to dox someone to really get them, and that could be a real issue for Wikipedia. And I don't know how their court case will go. with that regard, because again, I cannot imagine there are very many minors volunteering their time to sit there and update Wikipedia pages. You know,
Yeah,
I feel like kids have better things to do with their time, or at least things they feel are better uses of their time these days.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, yeah, Wikipedia is literally the encyclopedia of the internet. It is literally, you know, yeah, I'm very keen to see what the outcome of it would be. I imagine that as soon as the Parliament is back, I imagine that they're going to be making amendments as soon as possible on it, given the discord over it, because clearly there's mixed reaction. I mean, there's some people who say it doesn't go far enough when it comes to protection of children, but there's also this argument, a fair argument point, which I've been hearing a lot as well, is that obviously, as some people mentioned in the comments, is obviously we're talking about people's protections here, people's right for privacy here, and I mean, literally, Giles just pointed out in the comment, it goes against a law of data protection here in Portugal, where he is. So there is definitely conflicts of this. There's conflicts in this law, and clearly there hasn't been enough looked into this before making it into law. I don't think they've done a very good job, both Conservatives and Labour, when it came to putting this out. I mean, I see I don't think the intention is bad from Labour when it comes to this, because it comes across to me like they're trying to help, they're trying to protect children. I see that perspective of it. I know some people may disagree because it's Labour. I know we got because it's Labour. I get that. Okay, you don't need to tell me that, guys. But I honestly do think there is a consensus in the House of Parliament and from politicians that we do want to do more to protect children, and that it was.
I remember at the time when the Tories started talking about it, it was one of the few things I ever heard them say that I actually agreed with. Now I was waiting to see what they were going to come up with, but I did actually, even when the Tories wanted to do it, I agreed with it even then. And you know how I feel about the Tories, so it's not a partisan thing. I do genuinely think they would just want to do something good, but like I say, I think it's a bit farcical at the moment.
Yeah, I think the onus is a. I think the onus needs to be like I don't think it's enough for just one government to try and introduce this. I generally think the only way for this to work is it needs to be more on an international basis rather than just one country trying to do it. It needs to be with the consensus of the majority of international countries working together to find it, because the internet is literally like connecting all of us from all different parts of the world with all sorts of different laws. Like I always say, the internet is the wild west, and it's not something that it's not something that you can directly control. However, there are, and we know that social media companies are out of control, but I do think if governments want to do more, I think it needs to be done in cooperation with European nations, with America, with South America, with all nations across the globe, in a consensus basis to try and find a solution, rather than just individual countries trying to find ways to do it, instead of actually just saying we're going to clamp down in this part, or we're going to do this law here, this law there, because it makes because then everything turns into grey areas, and it's like, well, how can you find the right what's right and what's wrong? I do think parents, obviously, I just want to say, I do think, obviously, obviously I don't have kids, and obviously if anybody's in the chat who has parents, please speak for yourselves about what it's like for you to try and raise children in this environment, because it is I can't imagine how difficult it is, because it must be extremely difficult, because obviously you're trying to find the right balance of you want to suppress your child, but you don't want to suppress them too much, because obviously you don't want to infringe on your child's freedom of expression, sort of thing, to be themselves online as well as in real life. But at the same time, you're like, there's always that thought in the back of your head of what if they come across something that you don't want them to see, and all those thoughts come into your head. So I do think a lot. I do think it's are we trying to trust parents? Should we be trying to trust parents more rather than governments? And and the role that schools play in this as well, I think, is just as vital as well.
Especially since it's the schools that are handing out laptops to the kids these days and tablets to the kids these days. Like,
yeah,
there should be like an online safety course for kids to go along with obtaining the tech. You know.
Yes, that's a good. That should be standard there. Absolutely. I don't know if you guys want to add any more to the Online Safety Act. I'll just see if anybody in the chat has anything.
Well, I have to say, I remember, I can't remember, it was a good few months ago when I watched it. It's select committee meeting, the Summit Sport and Summit Select Committee meeting. I've forgotten what they call it now. I remember John Nicholson used to be on the board and all that. I've forgotten his name now. They'll come to me, but they had the the CEOs, for like Facebook, TikTok, and places like that. And some of the stuff I heard on there, you think, wow, and they would just look like basically robots. They're telling all these horrible stories about what's happening, with children and young kids and all these. And they were just basically talking. Basically shop talk. Saying, "Oh well, our company prioritises the safety of children." And they're basically saying, "Well, clearly not. I've got evidence here, a story here about this that happened, and that's happened, and then I've got this story that's happened, and I've got this other story. So what are you doing about? Well, we are prioritising the safety of children." And you just think, is that all you're going to say? And no emotion in them or whatsoever. It was, for them, it was just clearly, we just want to make as much money as we possibly can while we can. So I think they should be really held to account.
Yeah, the social media companies are run amok. I mean, when you try to suppress, I think it's in Brazil, isn't it? They've really tried to push down on. I push down more on the social media companies in Brazil. I mean, I know that's one of many things why Donald Trump is having to go at Brazil. Obviously, his best friend, Jarvis One, is in big doo-doo right now. But I know they've been quite strong. They've been quite firm in Brazil when it comes to the social media companies with that as well. Thank you guys for some of your comments. Yeah, it's because it's not an easy one. Not an easy one. To know what's right, it's a very difficult one. I have healthy respect with my kids. You cross me and I'll allow you symbols careful there. Okay.
That's another thing. Speech rules, which is literally changing language to the point where you're saying the same thing. You're saying exactly the same thing. You're just saying it in a slightly different way to get around the rules, and it's changing the language, and it will never stop being annoying to me.
Yeah, I watch debates on Twitter, and they do a lot of that on Twitter, so they can get past moderators and things. And they use different words and abbreviations and stuff. Takes you a while to get to get your head around it.
They just replace the original words. Just replaces the original words, so it just means the same thing. You've just got new words to say the same thing.
I never get into conversation debates on Twitter. It's just too. It's not worth it. Even if there's a tweet of something I firmly disagree with, I'm just not even going to go there. It's just not.
I found it at Twitter.
Yeah, I just go.
I'll reshare stuff, but
yeah, I just go into Twitter now and again just to wind up the mouth frothers. Call them.
Yeah, I think we all agree. I do think, I think we all agree there does need to be regulation of some sort. The problem is obviously knowing what is the right.
I totally agree with that one.
Yeah, it's just knowing what is the right regulation. Because there's a part of me is like, you don't want the government to be nannying your kids on what they can and can watch too much, because obviously there's obviously the parents' responsibility in that too, and then there's obviously what does the school do in teaching, and as Jenny, you pointed out, obviously what the school teaches, the rights and wrongs of online safety and protecting them as well. That factor plays in. So I do think obviously parents, schools, government. I do think it is a combination of these. When it comes to it, but I do expect some amendments and changes to come when return from their holidays. One subject that will never go away, that we will never stop talking about until the cows come home, guys, is the small boat crossings. The small boat crossings, which never stop, guys.
Stop
25
backing wars abroad, and guess what? There's less refugees.
Small boat crossings
Stay
hit
out of other countries' business.
25,000 have hit. We've now had for the year. Obviously, one of the obvious and simplest solutions to stop the boats crossing is to set up safe and legal routes. This has been said by so many experts, such as Zoe Gardner, and it really isn't that hard to do that. Even France.
No, they did it for the Ukraine. They can set up safe routes when it suits them.
Yeah, I believe Ukraine and Hong Kong still have their routes set up for them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but France have offered the UK to set up a asylum application in France on Calais, but they said no, and we're still having this issue, unfortunately. And the worst thing about it all is that it continues to play into the hands, and the so-called far right, and it's used as an engine to drive, once again, divide people. And England only problem, says Dave McGuinness.
My drinking partner.
Up here, we're not bothered about immigrants. Bring it on. Like, join us. Move here. Like.
No, immigration is. We all know immigration is a good thing, but we also know that, I think global migration is on the increase due to a number of factors, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows what these are. It's war, it's conflict, it's the increase in climate change. It is the lack of foreign aid as well, which we've had cuts from lots of European countries, including the UK, and especially the United States have significantly cut their US aid as well, and that is obviously contributing to people fleeing, and it's just not been enough being done. And I've always said this analogy of when somebody loses a house, right? If their house burns to the ground and they've got nowhere to go, they'll go to the nearest neighbor, or they'll go to someone's home because they haven't got anything to go back to. So they normally go to the next country next to them, or they'll try to go to a country where their friends or relatives are there. The other solution, obviously, is to try and rebuild that person's home. But the problem is that we're in a world where people don't want to rebuild that person's home now, because everybody's all me and my problems. What about our country? What about our people? Sort of analogy. And Jenny, I know you're desperate to. Is your finger up as in I want to get it right?
You said a thing. You said we all know immigration is a good thing. Yeah, no issues with that whatsoever. But from our point of view up here, all of Westminster's continuous attempts to curb immigration has been purely detrimental to us up here, purely detrimental to Scotland. Like all of it, all of the attempts to curb immigration has been detrimental to us. And we're not being given the rights to determine our own immigration policies and to have any say over, because if we had the right to sort out our own immigration and set our own policies regarding that, our own legislation, we wouldn't be doing a single thing like Westminster is. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what more to add to that. I mean, it really is just a case of immigration is a good thing, but obviously people think that all their problems revolve around that small person coming across on the boat, which it's just absolutely ridiculous. Graham, what do you make of the current situation now on migrants and boats crossings? I mean, I know everyone has heard it to death. What's your thoughts on it all so far? Thank you, Alistair, here for the £5 super chat, by the way.
I think I accept that some people see it as a problem. Oh, sorry, do you need to read out Alistair's super chat?
No, it's Donkey Dave did a video this morning about the abuse of the RNLI. Got on the video. they did was tantamount to hate, traitors let them down, disgusting. I think I know what video we're referring to. I didn't play it yesterday, but I believe their donations increased as a direct result of the hate that they got from people on the far right. Because at the end of the day, their job is to save lives, and it's like, and people are saying they should let them drown. It's just like, that's literally murder. Why would you not want to save their lives? Like, why would you say such a horrible thing? Like, sorry, Graham, do you want to carry on? You can add to that as well.
All I was going to say was, it's not so much the boat. I mean, obviously, some people are going to say it as a problem, and I accept that to a degree it's a problem. But it's not necessarily the boats that makes me angry about it. It's the way people like Farage and Richard Tice and stuff like that. It's the way they use it. That I think is more of a danger to society than the people coming across the boats, is the effect that Nigel Farage and people like him are using for it, you know, on society. I mean, like you've just made an example there. I literally saw a woman on my Facebook thing the other day. It was something about immigration, and she'd said those actual words. She'd just put in the comment, "Let them drown." And I looked at a picture, and it was just a nice, normal, middle-aged woman with a couple of kids. I was like, it's not all racist and horrible people with Union Jacks drinking cans of beer that are saying these things. It's spreading out all the time to normal, you know, just average people. And I think we know they've got to have safe routes. They've got to process people more quickly, and they've got to be seen to be doing that before it's going to make a difference. But the actual people themselves, I don't necessarily have a problem with them. I do look at the figures sometimes, and quite a high percentage of them get their asylum claims passed. You know, these people are checked. There seems to be this idea as well among the reform voters and stuff that they're just letting anyone in, and they haven't got passports, and nobody knows who they are, and then they just give them a house. And it's just it's not even anywhere near.
That's the part that infuriates me the most. They keep saying that, and it's just like, no, they're all checked. I think it's like 70% of asylum applications are approved. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think that's roughly the percentage of what it is.
One of my friends said something on Facebook about them. They get a car, they come here because they get a car. And I was like, where have you got that from? That's not true. And he's not a racist lad. He's not a pretty average guy who I always thought was quite left-wing, but he come out with stupid things like that. And more people that I know in my life that are quite normal are doing that. And it's because Nigel Farage is taking advantage every single time a boat full of people comes across.
Yeah. Another one to say, luxury hotels.
Another luxury hotel.
Oh yeah, well, staying in 4-star hotels. No.
Yeah.
I wasn't too far off Dave McGuinness. 86% approval, Dave McGuinness says. So I wasn't too far off, but go on, carry on.
It's extended.
Yeah, I think one of the ones
where the your food delivery folk, all of their details are being made available, to make sure that there's no people working that shouldn't be. It's like, mate, it's literally undocumented folk that are keeping the prices down across the board, like, because they're willing to accept lower wages. They literally don't take anything back out of the welfare state because they're not owed anything. They're literally in the worst position of any person in the country, and yet it's because of them that you've got services as fast as you have, as cheap as you have, etc. That's these people, that's these undocumented folk that these people are out for. And like you're saying, these people that are out against the immigration of people into the country, it doesn't matter if they get accepted or not. These people are just racists. So even if you're accepted and you have a visa and you're paying taxes and everything, they don't give a hell. You have a bit of an accent. You're a little bit of a different colour. Get out my country.
Our colour.
You know. But they absolutely point blank refuse to see any benefit of those that are undocumented and still awaiting approval into the country as well. Like, and these people need to work. They have to be able to provide for themselves and their families. You know.
Well, even if they had like work programs, so you know, they go out and just do like gardening in the areas and stuff. So then people would get used to the sight of people around, see them contributing to the community as well. I don't understand why they just leave them lingering in these horrible places with 10 other fellas in a room for 18 months while they wait. They need to
Farage and his rhetoric. It's like, oh, these people get to stay in a nice hotel for a year. They shouldn't be there for a year. Have them there for a month, get them processed, move them on. But no, they don't process them. They leave them there for a year, and then Nigel Farage gets to come out and go, do you know that that family's been able to stay in that hotel that you can't afford to stay in for a year? Yeah. It's like, it's because of your failures. It's because of Westminster failures with processing folk. Like, you know, these people didn't ask to be put there. These people don't believe that they're getting a better deal than anyone else in the country. You know, they don't want to be there. They want to move on, and they want to get jobs, and they want to have homes, and they want to be able to grow with their families in their new country, you know?
There's a great video clip from Novara Media. They were interviewing this. I can't remember where it was because I was sharing it on my live stream yesterday, where basically the lady was basically saying the asylum seekers are basically doing volunteer work. They're volunteering because they got nothing else to do, because they can't work, and it's just like they want to work. And she said basically they've not caused any trouble. They haven't done anything. Like, they literally want to contribute to society, and they're just waiting for their application to get processed. And that just speaks a lot of volumes. I just want to say thank you for the £5 super chat, Aston Keir, saying, to be honest, we need a left-leaning mainstream media to get pushed more to people. Too much money to the far-right mainstream media is drowning out the left. It's just my opinion. No, I think we all agree with that. I know, like,
it's not just an opinion. Left-leaning people that are always left-leaning have become right-wing pundits because they're getting paid a lot of money to change their viewpoint and to toe the line. And they're purely doing it for the money, not because they believe in it. But it adds to the voices that are talking about far right-wing.
It's easier to make money off stupid, angry people than it is off clever, concerned people with empathy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, all they're doing is going, here, do you want to be an influencer? I can give you 100 grand a month to talk about immigration and how it's terrible. Like, go for it. And these people are like, wait a minute, 100 grand a month, and I get to be an actual influencer with people actually, and then they do it. Yeah. Not because they believe it.
Yeah, sell the souls, don't
they?
Yeah.
What's his name? The fella in the American fella, Tucker
Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. He when Trump left office the first time, he came out and said he hated him and he was a coward and he didn't like working with him and everything. And then as soon as he got back into office, suddenly he's his biggest fan again. I mean, I know he seems to have gone over the Epstein files. He seems to have gone, a little bit distanced again in the last week or so. But when he got back into office, he was clapping and cheering him. It just completely changes his view depending on who he's speaking to and what he's going to make the most money for or from.
Well, you need to see him in Moscow when he had his interview. I don't know how many of you watched his interview with Vladimir Putin, or when he was shopping around the Russian supermarket trying to big it up, and I'm just like, mate, it's no different than any other supermarket.
I find it quite hilarious.
In Russia, only really rich people can afford to go in them.
As I say, I find quite funny. They'll interview a guy who's protesting out. Who, let's be honest, is known to police for domestic violence, and he's protesting outside a hotel to protect girls from people from these immigrants. And yet if you look at his handle at whatever social media, he'll be a massive Trump supporter as well.
Yeah, it's always right. Yeah.
The thing that really, one of the things that really infuriates me, all these people, they talk about, I'm worried about my kids and this kind of language that you see from them at protests, and I'm just like, yeah, but what about the white people who are doing it as well? Where's your voices when a white person is convicted of doing this crime? Where are you?
I've heard that at least 3 women die a week from domestic violence or something like that. I'm sure I've heard some statistic in the back of my mind. At least once a week, a woman dies from domestic violence. So where's the anger about that?
I can't remember if it was earlier this year or late last year, but there was a big paedophile ring broken up. I think there was 23 people went to prison in the end, and they were all white people, and there wasn't a mention of it from any of them.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I only saw
their narrative.
I think I only saw one newspaper reporting on it.
It's like how most of the terrorism in America is white, homegrown, right-wing men that are enacting the... That doesn't fit the narrative. Don't talk about
it.
Yeah, if only one of those terrorists was, if only one of those persons was a black person, or one of Middle East, from Iran or Afghanistan, it would have fit the narrative perfectly. But no.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the there was the incident with the, what was it, I can't remember where the migrant's origin was. If he's from Afghanistan or somewhere from the Middle East, where I don't know if he's been convicted yet. The one in Epping, I believe it is, because that's what's caused the protests that have been taking place there recently, because of basically of one person or one or two people from that asylum hotel, and that's what's caused loads of people to come out in anger, basically calling for the heads of all those people within that hotel. There's been anti-protesters there as well, and it's been going on for quite a while. And I know there's obviously been attacks on police by some of the angry protesters and whatnot. And I said that if it gets too violent, if it gets too dangerous, I really do think that they need to move them out of the hotel, not just for the asylum seekers there, but also for the police, for the protesters and the anti-protesters there, because there's no other way to quell the issue if that makes sense. Because obviously I don't want to see people getting hurt. I don't want to see people getting hurt. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to see, like, I have my disagreements about some of the things that police do, but I certainly don't like. But when I see police officers getting attacked, it really does infuriate me that there's not enough of the media calling it out when it happens as well. That really infuriates me, because it just makes the police's job so much harder. It really pisses me off when because like I said, I have a lot of grievances with some of the things that police have done in the past, and some of the things that they've done, but they're there to protect us. It's their job. And when I see them getting attacked by protesters and people on the far right, and I don't hear enough about accountability to them, it really does infuriate me so much. And then you have Nigel Farage gaslighting them, literally gaslighting, attacking the police, and it's just absolutely infuriating. Let me just go to this. Sorry, I had to close the window because there's noise outside. As Sakir, thank you so much for the £5 super chat in this roundtable. All the hosts who I follow on YouTube, and some people in the chat too, all left leaning chat. Please support them. Please support them. Share, please. Yeah, there's lots of. I'll just do a quick plugs. Just because you want to remind them, there's so many fantastic YouTubers. Obviously, guys, if I miss anyone, please just put them in the links there. Obviously, Daily Blasé, Power to the People, GRAEMEPRYCE, and Jenny Random Scottish History. Links for all their YouTube channels are in the description. But obviously, there are other YouTubers in the chat as well, such as Jow is a small-time YouTuber as well. Do check out his work, One Angry Pagan, there as well. Dave McGuinness, of course, he's working at the Two Davies. And if I miss any others, please just feel free to add them in the chat there if I forget, because there's so many wonderful YouTubers out there and their work there. I don't think there's anything more to add on that. I think we got about 15 minutes left, so I think we'll talk in the last 15 minutes about Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana and the new Left Party, or the Your Party, or I don't know what you want to call it. If you guys want to call it your own party, feel free to give it your own names down in the comments below, guys.
Have they given a name? Have they got a name
I
now?
don't know what they're called exactly, but last I checked, over 600,000 members people have signed up to the party. We still don't know. Like, it seems to be a lot of. And I have to agree with Max Robespierre's position on this, because it seems to be a case of it's all about, rather than having a leader per se, it's more about everyone who's a part of it all has a say, all has an opinion. So rather than somebody like at the top who makes the final decisions, it seems to be more of a group thing, which could potentially become problematic. I will say, obviously, it's really important to stress it is early days in the party, because there's a lot to, because we don't know whether or not the party's going to succeed. It could flop. It could easily flop as well, even though it all sounds very good on paper. it could potentially be successful. It could really damage the Green Party, because obviously a lot of their policies align with what the Greens are doing as well. Graham, I'll start with you. What do you make of the new Left Party by Corbyn and Zara Sultana? What's your feelings about the party, and what you've heard, and how do you think it's going to go at the moment, or how do you think it's going at the moment for them?
I think, like you've just said, I think it's a little bit too early to tell, really. I'm a bit worried about them taking votes from Labour and it resulting in Labour having a hung parliament or not getting enough seats the next election, that Reform and the Tories could team up and just about make it over the line. That's my main concern on one hand. But on the other side, I'm supporter of democracy, and if they think that they want to be a separate party and people want to vote for them, I can't judge that. It's not my place. I support the Lib Dems, but I'd never vote for them. I understand. I like the idea of there being multiple parties, but they've got a mountain to climb, because the media are going to slaughter them. I like Jeremy Corbyn, but I can't forget some of the things he was accused of when he was leader of the Labour Party. It got ridiculous seeing new stories about what he'd done lately every day. They attacked him relentlessly, and if they do that again, it's going to seriously hamper anything that they try to do. In principle, I think it's probably a good idea, and if it gives people a third party to vote for that isn't the Tories or Labour, instead of voting for Reform, and that's a good thing, because like I've said a few times, I think a lot of people just voted Reform in the local elections because they don't know that much about politics. They're seeing the name Reform and seeing Nigel Farage all the time, and they just didn't want to vote for the Tories or Labour, so they went for who they thought was the next biggest party. And, if it gives people another third option, then that's a really good thing. And I think that's why I think, at first I thought the type of people who vote Reform won't vote for them. But then when I think about it like that, I think quite a few will. I think it'll damage Reform as well as Labour. I think the only people it won't damage is the Tories, because there's no way any Tory voters are ever going to vote for a party led by Jeremy Corbyn. So they're the only ones that are coming out of it safe. But overall, I can't complain that they want to start another party. I can't be too scornful of it. I want to see how it goes, see what happens.
What do you make of it from Scotland's perspective, Jenny, on this so-called me party, or Left Party, or your party?
I have never been a Labour supporter, voter, but when Jeremy Corbyn was the leader, like I was saying over the Palestinian issue, he was on the right side of things in a lot of cases. The only reason that I never felt the need to vote for him, because I am an SNP 1, any other indie party 2 kind of girl to tackle our list seats up here. But really, Jeremy Corbyn he's got his head screwed on. I mean, to the point where I remember there was a moment where all they could really attack him on, before he came out as anti-occupation and anti-Zionist, was how he dressed. It's like, oh God, he looks like a janitor. It's like, well, I mean, if that's the worst you can say about the man, then he's on to a winner. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he does have the right idea about a lot of things, but we don't need him up here. So,
yeah, fair enough. I always say there's a difference. If someone says to me that they want to vote for the SNP and they live in Scotland, then I have to just accept that that's their choice. That's fair enough, because I think SNP are quite decent people. And if I've lived in Scotland, maybe I'd vote for them. That's very different when someone says to me they're going to vote Reform. I'm like, why? Because it's a very different thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What do you make of the me party then, Darren? Do you think the me party?
If I'm honest, I was incredibly confused, totally confused, because I'm sat there thinking, from what I could gather, it seemed that Zara Sultana just decided to say, right, that's it, I'm off, I'm leaving, and you've got those on the independent seats, moving up there. Oh, clearly Zara's coming in, and Jeremy Corbyn's coming with me. What? Huh?
Yeah.
I'm not. They're all looking at Jeremy, and Jeremy's looking at them.
I'm going with you.
Bold move, whether it's the right one.
Yes, you're going to join me, and we're going to form a new party. And they're all looking at Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn's looking at the rest of them. Okay. and that's what it is. And then it seemed to be. So what's the name of your party then? We don't know. Why do we leave it to the members? So what policies are you going to have? We'll leave it to the members, and I just think.
But that's what they are there for. That's what your elected representatives should be there for, is to speak for the people, which we don't get to see a lot of at Westminster, regardless of the party that's voted in. It's been a long time since we saw a party that was voted in that actually acted on behalf of the people that voted them in. You know,
but I think, if I may, before I bring it back, I think what I think you're trying to come across, correct me if I'm wrong, Darren, is to try and have a core policy of what it is. What's the core policy? Like when you think of SNP, what's the first thing you think of? Independence, independence, independence. When you think of the Labour Party, what are they supposed to be? Supposed to be the party for the working people. When you think of the Green Party, obviously thinking tree huggers. You know, like and like what is the core policy? Like what is the core? What is this new party? What is its main core policy? Like something like that everyone can say, okay, this is definitely what we are, sort of thing.
Yeah, because like with me, I would want to know what is it you want to achieve? What is it your drive? Is it you want to form a government? Well, let's be honest. Jeremy Corbyn's not going to form a government. Not going to happen. So I'm just trying to find out what is it they want to achieve. So now, if I'll probably have a live stream tomorrow, and somebody might ask me about it, and somebody might say, "Should I vote for so and so?" I think, well, yeah, it's democratic, isn't it? If you feel that they align with your beliefs, crack on. I don't have a problem. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that, and I think if that's what they want to vote for, then it's up to Labour to govern better and to attract the voters that they've either lost or and be better at it. That's the job of being in government, isn't it? And so, but I just watch with confusion, because like they were saying, also somebody was saying, "Oh, you're going to be called the Your Party," and from what I could gather, Zara Sultana said, "No, we're not." And I said, "Oh, right then."
Yeah, that was Politics Joe. Politics Joe had a tweet out saying this is what they were calling themselves, and she said that it's not. And they literally replied under saying, "What is it called?" And she didn't even respond to the tweet, and it's just like. Like they literally was like, so what's it called then? Like, if that's not it, then what's it called then? You know, like leave them hanging on that. It's just like, it's a bit like be a bit like it's not a great. It doesn't leave a very good impression. Way it's been started, it's not a very good impression. I mean, literally around the time before this party was announced, I don't know how many of you have seen the promotional video from Zach Polanski of the Green Party, who's running to be the leader of the Green Party in England.
Did you show it on one of your? I thought
I did show
it.
I did show it because
music and all that, with the stereo music and walking along the long walk on the beach and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was one of the most powerful videos and something that you've not heard from a politician in England for a very, very long time. And I generally believe that Zach Polanski is the left of Nigel Farage. I generally think he can be that here in England, because we need somebody who can be that. And
he seems quite relatable and well spoken, doesn't he?
From every interview and every interview that I've seen of him, from every conversations he has, like, I think he's very much he speaks a lot of what ordinary people speak. And I think he's going to be very and I think if he wins the leadership contest for the Green Party, I think he's going to be very aggressive for them, and I think that's what they need, because don't get me wrong, they've done really, really well so far, the Green Party. And in his video, for those who don't know, he pointed out that when people think of the Green Party, I literally said tree huggers because that's the first thing you think of: environment, nature, all that kind of stuff. But he literally said in his promotional video, yeah, they care about nature, but also human nature, which was a great line to pull in it when you think about it. I know we're talking specifically about English politics here, Jenny, but because obviously what happens in Downs here does affect you guys, I'm afraid, which sucks. But I generally I do have some hope. Yeah, I do have some hope that I'm not saying I am going to join the Green Party, but I will be very very tempted to if he does win the leadership role there.
As I say, I'll finish.
I do think they need somebody a bit stronger to lead them, because unless there's an election, nobody ever sees them. You know, they need somebody who can get them. They get the views out a bit more and get them on the news a bit more and things like that. Now, even the Lib Dems can't manage it. They've got over 70 MPs, so I can see why the Greens struggle. But most people don't really know that much about. Like you say, they just think, tree huggers. People don't know anything about them because the media just ignore them.
Yeah, because let's be honest. When it comes to the next election, Corbyn's going to be is it 80?
Yeah,
80 next. Yeah, and. So how long's he got to go? And I'm just not convinced at the moment. I'm on the air, and I think he'll just die away.
He's got a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
I think they do need do you think the UK should have 6 tax brackets, just like Scotland? As I don't notice the extra pay. The extra I pay and for public services, and Scotland's NHS best in the UK and other things the Scots do. Yes, I do. I do think we do need to change the tax system in England. I think it's ridiculous. There was a viral clip that went around yesterday where someone about what was it, a council tax going up, and basically saying that they have to pay for some I don't know if it was bin collection or some kind of garden collection. I can't remember what it was. And basically saying they're being charged to collect it now or something, even though they're getting essentially more for less. I'm sure someone in the chat can remind me of it. But we do need to change the tax system in England. That is something that definitely needs to happen. That is for sure. My screen is getting very, very slow. Probably because we've been live streaming for almost an hour and a half, guys, and we've pretty much I've written down all the subjects that I had, and we've pretty much covered all of them, guys. So we have been going for an hour and a half. So, guys, I want to say first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat for all your comments. Thank you, moderators, as always. Thank you to those who gave super chats as well. Very, very generous of you guys for all the super chats you gave. I really, really appreciate your contributions. I'm sorry if we didn't catch every single one of your comments, but I was looking at the chat as much as I possibly could there. So I do appreciate all of that, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope you found this roundtable interesting, informative. Maybe you learned something more than you did before today. Maybe you didn't. Who knows? But I also want to say thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Random Scottish History, Darren, Daily Blasé, GRAEMEPRYCE, Power to the People. Thank you guys all for coming along today. I really appreciate it. And it was really, really, it's like I was absolute. I'm not going to lie, because I'm going to say this to you guys all. I was absolutely petrified in like the last hour, just hoping will this all work. Hopefully nothing will happen. Like I don't want the internet crash out or anything else. Like, but it's all worked out well. It's all worked out well in the end. Yes. And guys, just. No, go on. You say your bit. Go on.
No, I was just about to say, I was half expecting earlier on another message. Oh, sorry, it's all gone to pear-shaped. Me dog's eating me homework or something.
Jasper's wires or something. Yeah, something along those lines. Just a couple of things before we head out. Just a quick reminder: tomorrow, Friday tomorrow at 5 p.m. Friday Frolics with Daily Blasé. Do join him for that. If you haven't been on a Friday Frolics live stream, please join him for one. You will absolutely get a laugh or two. I do send him a few odd funny things that I spot now and then as well. So do join him for that as well. I am planning another roundtable chat on Thursday, the 14th of August. I think I already had you down for that, Darren. So I think you're already slotted in. Mikey, how do I get into Mikey? How can I get in touch with Mikey? If someone could get me in touch with him, whether it's Discord or I do have an email on my website as well. You can email me as well. Dave McGuinness, we need to get you back on as well, don't we? We should look to get you. We should look to get you on again as well, because everyone loves a good rant as well. So yes, I do have an email on my homepage, guys. If you want to send me an email there, if you don't have Discord as well there, so you can send me a message there, and we'll go from there. But yeah, at the moment I've got Darren on again because Darren loves coming on. I did just out of curiosity, just before we go, because I know I had All Shorts originally on. I did send in the link, and I said if you did want to hop on, you could do, because I actually had a 5 screen set up just in case he decided to pop on below us. So we could have had 5 people, but he unfortunately couldn't make it, I'm afraid. So, but thank you guys, everyone, for coming along. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evenings, whatever you guys are doing. I'll be back live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. But before you come and see me live, make sure you join Dave McGuinness with his paper round at 10:30 this morning as well. Otherwise, he'll put you on the naughty step. And trust me, you don't want to be on the naughty step. It's actually quite painful for your bottom, I'm told. So don't be late for that, guys, if you can. But yeah, I'm going to click the end button now. Yeah. Good night, everyone, and take care, and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, whatever it is. Bye.
Take care.